Right now, underway, spring break on South Beach and the new breakup measures in place in the wake of past violence. A more drastic police presence is part of a new marketed message about breaking up with spring break, a reaction to shootings and murder on Ocean Drive this time last year. In context, spring months have a history of crowds, crime, and backlash, and a perception of racism in the response. Is this a turning point? Glendon Hall chairs Miami Beach's Black Affairs Advisory Committee. By profession, he's in economic development and community redevelopment, and he's lived in Miami Beach more than 20 years. Welcome to the table. I know this is, we've been together on Zoom, but
yes,
this is, yeah, I'm glad to have you here. So you were out and about. We had our crews were out and about on Ocean Drive. It's very peaceful, kind of empty at some points, kind of boring to some people, and a massive police presence there. Give me your take on what you've seen.
Well, I think that it has been quiet, a lot more quieter, but I think it's been one well run by Miami Beach PD and the Goodwill Ambassadors.
The plan is working?
I think the plan is working to a certain extent. I don't support the messaging, but I do support Miami Beach PD and the Goodwill Ambassadors. They have done a fantastic job. So
let's talk about that, because the Black Affairs Advisory Committee on Miami Beach, which you chair, it's 9 people, did all the planning. The planning has been going on a year. The real intensive planning and additions have been going on for a couple of months. Were you an advisor in an advisory role? Was that committee consulted by elected officials? What did you tell them?
Well, we provide letters to commission, LTCs, every time we meet. And back in December, we provided them all the different items that we needed to put in place to make sure everything went fine.
Like what?
For number one was making sure that we treat the Miami Beach as a stadium. Once it meets capacity, you can't let anybody else on. So we wanted to make sure that FDOT finally gave us control of the causeways, because they've never done that, so that we could have the LPRs and DOI checks.
License plate readers.
Right. So that
driving under the influence.
Right, exactly.
Talking acronyms.
Sorry. So the two big things that are a problem on the beach are the massive crowds and the proliferation of illegal guns. So having control of the causeways, you can manage not only the crowds, but you also have the opportunity to take down these cars that have these guns.
So I want to talk about what's different this year, because there's been a crackdown of sorts for years. What's different this year is the focus on traffic and cars. The garages were closed and $100 fees in some cases, and the traffic rerouting, and to your point, the causeways being sort of funneled.
Right.
You know, there has been an historical issue with blowback on how this particular crowd is being handled and managed, and concerns of an overreaction, because it is a predominantly black crowd. And this has been a tug of war. Elected officials say it's the behavior, not the people. You are in that what is that saying, the bird dog position of being the guy that says this is right, this is not right. What have you told them?
Well, the biggest issue that we've had is messaging, because the breakup with spring break messaging was not approved by us.
Why?
Because it's toxic. It actually uses the word toxic, right? And if you want to encourage people to come and do things safely, that has to be part of the mix. You can't have the messaging being negative and then not emphasize safety. We want to make sure that everybody's safe. Residents, visitors, and everybody to be safe. That should have been the emphasis. The typical messaging was, you know, the older one was respect the scene. The other one was take care of the city, will take care of you. So it was more of a positive sense versus having it just be toxic and negative from the beginning. The emphasis would have been safety, because that's the number one thing we want to have for everybody.
But the beach leadership now is very clear. They don't want spring break. They don't want parties. They don't want wilding. They don't want what some, especially young people, consider great fun. They want culture. They want arts. They want expensive restaurants. They want that crowd. Is that, you know, what is your take on that?
My take on that, I used to live in Fort Lauderdale, I grew up in Fort Lauderdale. When they made that change, in Fort Lauderdale you had a lot of white college students.
The same issue.
The same issue. Yeah. So it was more of an issue of raising the level and quality of the area, because the people want to have better quality of life. So in those days, there was a lot of destruction, a lot of prostitution, drug use, etc. So the community got to the point and said, we can't do this anymore. But the city had to take the initiative of putting in investment. They put investments in the beach walk, they changed the routing of the streets, etc., and then changed the zoning to get rid of some of the, Archstocks Playpen, the Button, all these different activities that were kind of a race to the bottom.
So are we seeing that happen now on Miami Beach?
I think a long-term solution is to change some of the zoning, because if you go by the numbers, most of the issues that we're having are in side streets that have the smoke shops, that have the liquor stores, the pizza by the slice, which encourages the party in the street atmosphere. We want people to come down, but support the businesses, pay down the businesses, rather than just being hanging out in the streets and partying out of their back trunks of their cars.
I want to ask you something. As you're the chair of the advisory board, but you're a business person on the beach, you are a resident of the beach. In your estimation, you drive down Ocean Drive, you see a massive police state in place right now. Those are my words, and also the words of other people observing what's happening, and not a judgment call. Just it is what it is. And I wonder if this crackdown is a message, the visual message, which seems to be working. Where is, to your point, guns are in this community, South Florida. There are criminals in the community who take advantage. Where is that kind of message year-round?
Well, I think with our new police chief, he's doing the right thing. He's getting out there and getting the messages correctly. And the biggest thing that we've fought against is zero tolerance policing. That is the #1 thing we're against, because that means zero tolerance policing to me, and I've told the administration and everything else, that means open season to harass and kill black and brown people, and that's not going to happen. We need to also emphasize the fact that there are black activities all through the year, right? We have American Black Film Festival that got funded for $1.2 million. We have the Creole Festival that's coming up. We have Legacy Magazines having their 20th anniversary event here on Miami Beach. So these are different things that are going throughout the year. And we just celebrated—
Where is that messaging?
the 60th anniversary of Muhammad Ali becoming heavyweight champion. And that is going on right now with the Washington Billy Troy Wright. That's going on right now. And we have an event, the Harlem Renaissance with Chris Norwood at FIU Wilsonian. All these things are occurring, but that message is not being put out there because it's been overwhelmed with the spring break, when the black experience on Miami Beach is 365, 24/7 throughout the year. That needs to be emphasized.
We are up against a break, but you just gave me the best idea for some more segments that we're going to do right here on This Week in South Florida, all
Wonderful.
about that. And we actually talked to Chris Norwood about coming in.
All right.
Glendon Hall, great to have you. And thank you for all your work on the beach.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, up next, state of emergency with South Florida ties, a real-time scramble to save Haiti from collapsing into anarchy. That's next.